And now, you're tuned into RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's RBLR Sports.
This is the RBLR podcast. I'm your host, Zach Dobb, along with my co-host, Pat Davenport. Pat, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing cold. The UK gets cold, and it's dark. And whoever invented daylight savings, I will find you in the afterlife, and I will give you some stern words because I'm getting. It bums me out when it's all dark, man. I don't know what it is.
You don't love it getting dark at like 5 p.m. and it's just being like, oh, it's dark for the rest of the day now. And it's cold now too. It's great.
All I know is commute to work in the dark, commute home in the dark. We're in the dark ages, is what we're in, and I feel like the Rays are in a little bit of a dark age at the moment.
Yeah, as much as we would like to pretend like it's not happening, if you're here watching this show, I'm sure you want to know what we think about the nonsense that is threatening to send, as Pat very aptly said, send the Rays into a dark age. And that's the stadium nonsense. And we're going to talk about it because we have to talk about it. And we're also going to talk about something a little bit more, I don't want to say positive because we could be losing some guys, but also kind of exciting because we're talking about the future of the team. That's the Rule 5 draft. We're going to talk about that at the end of the episode, but we're going to start out talking about the stadium stuff because it's coming again. At the end of the last episode, I was like, hopefully this is it. Hopefully we won't talk about it again, and it'll be great. And that was such wishful thinking. It's almost insane how wishful thinking that was because no. We're going to have to talk about it again. And we are very excited to talk about it with all of you who are here watching us live. Thank you if this is your first time stopping in. If you just heard about all this stadium stuff on social media and you're like, what's going on? And you want to have some more information about it, we are your place for that. If you've watching us again and you're coming to hear our thoughts on it, we appreciate you coming back. If you would do us a huge favor, and if you like what you're hearing, drop a like on whatever social media platform you're watching us on. If you want to know when we go live, because we go live very frequently, every week we go live, you're going to want to follow us on whatever platform you prefer to view us on to make sure that you know whenever we're going live so you can see us there, including on Blue Sky where we're really excited and really grateful to have all of you over there that have followed us over to Blue Sky. We appreciate you guys. We're over there as well. So Pat, I just want to get your you saw the article, you saw the headline. What were your initial thoughts, like just straight out of the blue?
A big, deep sigh of depression, I think. It was one of these, like, because it's not a massive shock to the system, I would say, but it is something we've been having to deal with in some capacity of stadiums getting seemingly close and then getting shut down, and then another stadium seems to be in the works and then shut down. And this one, it felt like it was gonna actually happen. And then John Romano, for anyone that didn't see, of the Tampa Bay Times, posted an article with the headline: "Rays say county stalling has likely killed new stadium deal. Delays on bond votes have halted stadium groundbreaking plans and jeopardized baseball's future in Tampa Bay." And that is pretty strong words from the Tampa Bay Times, saying baseball's future in Tampa Bay is under legitimate jeopardy. Because previous stadium deals have been disappointing when they've fallen through, but this one had to work because now the time scale is under threat. To give the context, excuse me. Why is my Amazon Alexa playing? I don't know why that happened. Hopefully we cut that out in post. But hold on, give me 1 second. Can you stall for a second, Zach?
Yeah. So if you haven't read the article, you should go over to Tampa Bay Times and read it. It'll give you the context of everything that's going on. But the gist of it is, as a result of the hurricane, the vote was delayed in order to approve for like the final approval for the bonds that will fund half the stadium. Stu Sternberg has gotten $6.5 billion in a redevelopment deal with their partner Hines, and that's where they've gotten half of the money. The other half of the money was supposed to come from Pinellas County, and that was supposed to come in the form of bonds. And there was a county commission that was essentially going to come and approve that for the last final benchmark to get it done. They delayed that right after the hurricane. Understandable, but then they now appear to be wanting to delay it again. And I think what Sternberg is trying to come out and say here is that it seems like they're kicking the can down the road as new people. We kind of discussed this a little bit last week. As some new people come into office, and one in particular, very big person has come in and has had a lot to say, there seems to be less optimism about that deal getting passed. And the thing that makes this, the catalyst that kind of started, at least what it seems to us started this train, was the decision that the Rays made to play at Steinbrenner Field over in Tampa instead of playing at the what's that?
It's Blue Sky Field or Blue Water Field.
What's that place called? Hang on, I should have had this ready. Baycare Ballpark in Clearwater. That was the one that seemed like the best option in Pinellas County. And there's been some consternation that the Rays decided to go play in Tampa instead of playing in Pinellas. The thing that, is even making this a little bit more like sort of nasty and kind of unfun to watch is one of the new county commissioners, who goes by the name of Chris Latvala, has been making a big stink about not wanting to support the deal on social media. He is the son of Jack Latvala, who has gotten a lot of funding from the Phillies to finance his political career. The Baycard Ballpark is owned by the Phillies and they use it as one of their minor league and spring training facilities. The stink in this is the Phillies were looking for about $320 million of funding to renovate the facility. I think the idea being, if the Rays go play there, the funding will be approved to update the facility. Because the truth is, right now, if we're just looking at and this is kind of, we're not even getting to talk about the fact that the Rays have a place to play next season, because we're going to talk about this other stadium nonsense. But Steinbrenner Field, as much as it makes me want to vomit in my mouth to say thank you to the Yankees, is a much better place. It is outfitted like a AAA, AA ballpark. It's a nice place to play baseball, a decent amount of seating. Baycare Ballpark has almost 4,000 less seats. The amenities are not up to snuff. The dugouts and the team facilities are not there. And, the Players Association would have a problem with that. That's one of the things that's not even discussed in the article when we're talking about these two ballparks. It's unlikely the Players Association would have approved playing in the Pinellas Stadium without significant renovations, which again, we only have a couple of months between now and when opening day is going to happen. And you're saying that we're going to cram $320 million worth of renovations into that stadium between now and opening day. It just doesn't make sense. It's not a good plan. So they went with the best plan out there, Steinbrenner Field. And now there's been a lot of consternation around not playing in Pinellas. And that's kind of what has kicked this can even farther down the road. And the optimism around the stadium deal getting approved is starting to plummet.
Yeah, and that's from political posturing on both sides.
Yes.
Because Latvala has been saying that the council want to take their time on this deal, and because they're upset that the Rays, like you said, didn't play in Pinellas, they're like, yeah, we'll take our sweet time with this. Problem is, if they take their time with this, their plan was essentially at the start of 2025, shovels were going to hit the ground. Yes. That was the initial plan. If they take their time with this, that timeline is impossible. Yeah. However, money has already been paid to kind of start setting up the project to start in 2025 from Hines and from the Rays. They've already started paying for workers to stay in the new construction area. They've been getting the materials ready, and that money's been spent. And that means if the delay happens, the money's already been spent. They can't not spend it until something else happens. So apparently, according to the Tampa Bay Times article, a 1-year delay could cost an extra $130 million for the Rays. So they're like, hey, the council, we want to take our time with this. Stu's like, I am not paying $130 million just so you can take your time with this. If you don't approve the deal soon, I'm not going to pay $130 million to spend an extra year posturing on this. I'm just going to pull the plug. And Stu has essentially all the leverage in this situation, because he's already kind of set to reap the benefits from the Heinz redevelopment plan whenever that happens. So whatever gets built in that redevelopment plan, Stu has money in that game. He's invested in that game. He will reap dividends from that, whether the Rays are there or not. If the Rays are not there, then what is the likely scenario is that he will either move or sell the team, and a sale of the team will almost certainly involve a move as well. So it's whether or not he's involved in the moving process or he sells it to someone else to move the team. But he'll gain a few billion from selling the Rays. They move out of Tampa and probably out of Florida altogether, and then he makes more money from whatever gets built where the Trop used to be. So it's a win-win from him, whether the Rays are there or not. Meanwhile, if Pinellas County don't approve the stadium deal, then they do get the new stuff that's in place of the Trop, but they lose out on a Major League Baseball team, one of only 30 in the whole country, and one that could have been a major revenue source for them, and they won't have that anymore.
Well, and even beyond that, we've seen teams leave cities before, and there's been some scenarios in, like, especially older times where a team has left the city, but then the city is vibrant enough and warrants a team being there, and a team comes back. If the Rays leave, baseball is not coming back. There is no owner that would set up shop after what has happened here. And talking about selling, you don't have to just sell to people who are interested in being in Tampa. You're hitting the nail right on the head. He can go talk to people in Nashville. He can go talk to people in Charlotte. He can try to sell to multiple different markets if he wants to, and say, hey, this isn't working out. We're going to sell to you over here in Charlotte, and you can move the team up there. And by the way, you're getting with it a really, really good baseball team that even if they just stopped acquiring new players because nobody wants to come there except for through the draft, it's still going to be a really good team. When you look at the lower levels of development of this team, we're going to talk about that later. There's so much talent. This team is not going to just immediately just get bad. The team is really, really good. There's great leadership structures throughout the team. The team is going to continue to succeed, and they're still going to bring guys in. So even though it's maybe not the most attractive destination right now because of these issues, players are still going to want to come play for this organization. So it is an incredibly valuable commodity that Stu would be able to peddle out to Nashville, to Charlotte, to wherever,
Vancouver,
whatever, if they end up going back up to Canada, like, there's so many options, and it's all for Pinellas to lose. And so kind of shifting now from this is what happened to these are the facts. This is what we kind of been talking about. It's shifting to kind of opinion. I kind of have the belief, at least for now, that this is a lot of posturing nonsense, trying to look tough, especially for new people getting into office, trying to look tough and look like we're all for Pinellas, we fight for Pinellas, whatever. They're posturing, and this will eventually get done, because I cannot fathom a group of people being so comically short-sighted that they would be willing to lose a Major League Baseball team, a commodity of which there are only 30 in all of America, because of 1 year of playing in Tampa. I just cannot fathom that, being that short-sighted. If you are that short-sighted, then whatever, man. If you want to commit career suicide and be forever labeled as the guys and girls who lost the Rays, good luck ever winning an election ever again, because whoever you're up against is going to have the easiest campaign ever to just say, you're the one who lost the Rays and lost all those jobs, all that revenue coming in, all the tourism revenue coming in, all of there's so much that just wipes out immediately if you lose the team. So I think they just cannot be that short-sighted. But if they are that short-sighted and they're willing to do that, then I have no trouble believing that Stu will just take his ball and go somewhere else, because he's already telegraphed that he's willing to do that. And we thought kind of leading into this that was just sort of, again, posturing to get a better deal with Pinellas. But at the same time, he's already shown he's interested in going that route. What makes anybody think he wouldn't just be like, all right, fine, guys, I tried. I did my best. And then just takes his ball and goes elsewhere. I have no confidence that he won't do that. And so as a fan of Tampa, and again, I don't live in Tampa, but I have emotional connection to the Tampa Bay Rays being in Tampa, because part of the reason that I'm a fan is because of relationships I have with my family that have lived down there and had the team there, and that's my emotional connection to the team. As someone in that scenario and feeling for all the fans in Tampa and in Pinellas County, I feel so bad as they're just sitting there waiting. I hope that this is all just posturing, and in a month or two, they'll be like, all right, hey, we made a big stand, and then they end up passing it, and we just forget this ever happened. But if it's not, it's not good.
No, because, politics, economics, business, financial bottom lines aside, the only people that stand to actually lose are just people on the ground, real people who lose their jobs, who lose their baseball team. Some people build their whole lives around their baseball team and do so much to support them, whether they work for the team or whether they just support the team. But yeah, that's the people that are going to lose the most. And I think politicians especially have a duty of care to their constituents, a duty of care to the people in their county. And there is no positive to the people in their county to losing a Major League Baseball team. There is no positive effect. There isn't one. So it would be an act of gross negligence on a duty of care of the people to remove, a real prominent and valued commodity in your county for reasons other than, a backdoor deal with the Phillies or whatever.
And I think one other thing to keep in mind, too, is you might be saying, if you're watching this, saying, well, wasn't there just a hurricane down there? Don't they need the money to redevelop and fix houses and all that? The thing about this money that's been set aside for this deal is it is only allowed legally to be used for hospitality, entertainment type purposes. It's not to be used for rebuilding people's homes or infrastructure, roads. It's not to be used for that legally. It has to be used for stuff like funding baseball stadiums. That is what the funds are for. So there's not even an argument there that, hey, they're going to use the money elsewhere. No, it's either going to be used for that or used for something else in the same vein, which is going to be, I think, maybe this Chris Latvala guy is hoping it's used for the Phillies ballpark to be renovated. But again, that's not going to bring in anywhere near the revenue of a Major League Baseball team. So it's just really sad to watch. I think the thing that gives me the most dread is we spent the last, couple of weeks of the season watching the end of the Oakland A's and watching the way those fans felt and watching that team leave. I shudder to think that could happen to our team. And that's something that really gives me, the heebie-jeebies. And I don't want to see what happened to the A's happen to anybody, much less happen to my team. So it's just a lot of nervousness. But I will say again, just to be clear, guys, if you're watching this, don't panic yet. We're talking about a lot of the ifs, ands, and buts that could happen with this because we want to give you guys the full picture. But nothing is set in stone. The stadium deal is not dead. Actually, it's just there's a lot of Stu is just saying that to try to move the bucket along a little faster. The stadium deal is not dead yet. There is still time. They could still make this right and fix it. It is not over yet. It is not completely donezo. It's just looking bad because of all this political posturing. So don't panic. Don't sell your season tickets just yet. We were not quite there yet, and it could all get fixed. With just these people, reneging on all this and walking back up and voting. But at the moment, we're just looking at an unfortunate situation in potential.
Yeah, 100% agree with what you said. I've been talking a lot of really positive stuff about Stu Sternberg, which is uncharacteristic of me. I just want to make it clear that I'm not still his biggest supporter, far be it from me for telling a commissioner of a whole county how to do their job. But Chris Latvala, I think, don't tweet for a bit.
Yeah.
Just you've not helped your side of the argument through what you've been tweeting. Because there could be completely legitimate reasons from the council to delay this and to, have second thoughts about the funding, but he's not articulated them particularly well.
No.
The strongest reasoning he's said on Twitter is that it's going against the spirit of the deal that was signed during the redevelopment plan. Unfortunately, there's no real legal there's no, like if you were in a court of law doing, which this may go to, by the way, this whole thing may go to a court. In the court of law, if your reasoning was it goes against the spirit of the deal, the judge may say something along the lines of, is the spirit of the deal in the room with us right now? Like, unfortunately, there's no kind of black or white plan that says the Rays must be in Pinellas should the Trop be destroyed by a hurricane. There's no legal obligation for them to do that. If there was, the Rays would probably have stuck to that because they would have said, hey, that would, if we have to we'd lose our new stadium because it completely nullifies our deal. I don't think they're dumb enough to do that.
Well, and again, there's still a scenario in which the Trop gets fixed in this offseason, which comically would require much less to renovate than the Baycare ballpark would have required to be renovated in order to be eligible to have an actual major league team there. But whatever, it's still possible that it could be repaired and we could be back in the Trop next season. It's not necessarily the most likely outcome, especially given the current state of things, but it is possible that they could work that out, get it repaired, and we could be back in Pinellas in 2026. And then here's the thing, guys, for perpetuity. That's what is so crazy to me, that's even a reasoning here, is you're saying, I'm going to say no to this deal for the Rays playing in Pinellas forever because they wouldn't play there for 1 year because the Trop got destroyed by a hurricane. It's just crazy to me that that's the logic. And I agree, man needs to get off Twitter. He is not articulating himself well at all. So that's kind of the situation. We are unfortunately just kind of left to wait. There's nothing really we can do. We're just going to have to kind of wait it out and see what happens. Any more thoughts on the stadium situation?
I just feel like we should bring attention to the good stadium news is that the Rays do know where they're playing the 2025 season.
Yes.
We kind of mentioned it already and we kind of brushed over it, but yeah, they are going to be playing in Tampa, in Steinbrenner Field, the spring training stadium of the Yankees. And like you said, it's the highest capacity spring training ballpark in Florida. And I think in all of baseball. Like you said, it's the best equipped, and it's in Tampa proper. So this is kind of a test run for all those people that said the Rays should play in Tampa. This is your chance to see what that would look like.
And again, 11,000 fans can sit in Steinbrenner Field, and that's before any other updates that they may do with it being a major league stadium. That is like, and again, it's way less than a major league stadium, of course. However, that's not nothing. That's a lot of fans that can pack out that field. It's a really nice stadium. It's a great place to watch a baseball game. So it's a best case scenario from the Rays' perspective. It also is a best case scenario for all the left-handed batters that are on the Rays, of which we have a couple. Jonathan Aranda is just like partying right now because he now has to only hit the ball 5 feet to left field to get it out of there. So he's partying. So is every other Josh Lowe, all Brandon Lau. They're all partying right now because they're going to get to play in Yankee Stadium dimensions for 82 of their games next year. Good for them. 81 of their games next year. Good for them. They should be excited. Actually, it's going to be more like 88, 87 games because they're going to actually play in Yankee Stadium for a couple games, and then they're going to play in Yankee Stadium dimensions. So anyway, if you're a left-handed batter, you should come to the Trop, or not come to the Trop. You should come to Tampa because you're going to get a really nice stadium to play in with a really favorable wall.
One Soto.
I will say I am a little like – it was always a long shot to get Juan Soto. I'm starting to feel a lot less optimistic because I find it hard to believe that he's going to want to come here with all this nonsense going on. Never say never, but it seems a little less likely now that this is all completely in free fall.
Yeah, and also I think the Rays are even more unlikely to be going for long-term deals now because they don't even know. Like, you can't sign a 5-year deal because in 2029 we have no idea if we're going to be in St. Pete or if we're going to be in Charlotte or Portland or Montreal or wherever. So it's like we gotta hold up, because you don't want to sign a deal with a team that's definitely moving in may or may not move in 2028. You'd rather know where they're going to be, even if the Rays were like, we're definitely in Montreal in 2028. At least that's a certainty. At least you know what that is. And currently there is no certainty, so I don't expect any 5-year plus deals being handed out. I mean, that's most off seasons, but this off season in particular, it's going to be unlikely. And also, unfortunately, this is the worst news. We're going to have to get used to some rainouts.
Yeah, that's kind of the big, and again, this is part of the reason why the Rays have always needed to play in a dome, is because if you've ever been to Florida, you know it rains. It do be raining in Florida, and it do be raining all the time. And that's why the Marlins have a dome. The Rays have always had a dome. It just does not make sense to play not in a dome. So it'll be interesting to see how they might try to finagle the schedule. I don't know if they would try to backload some home games like after the spring and summer. I don't know because there's really no good time to be in Florida, because it could rain at any time. So I don't know what the plan is. It's also going to be hot as heck during summer. So a lot of variables have not been brought into play. But considering the options available, Steinbrenner Field is definitely the best option out there. So it's a good outcome for the Rays to be playing there.
100%. It's the best. It's the best we can make out of a terrible situation, really.
Yeah.
So I think that's it for stadium talk.
Yeah, and bouncing off of that, I don't think we had this number last week. The estimate is $56 million to fix the Trop's roof, which is not as much as some people thought it might be. It's not like the $100 million plus that some people were throwing around out there, which always seemed high to me. But that's the number that's out there. It's probably a little bit more than that, honestly, but that's the number that's out there. So that being said, it's not unreasonable to think they could potentially fix the Trop's roof. It's just a question of, is there motivation to do that? And that's going to, I think, come down to whether or not there's confidence that the team will stay there long term. I think if this gets figured out and they're like, yeah, sorry about all that nonsense. Yeah, we're approving the deal. Rays stay in Pinellas. I think there's a good chance they end up finding a way to get the stadium fixed so that they have a better place to play until the new stadium's ready. If not, I don't really know what the future could be around that.
Yeah, too uncertain. We're just going to have to wait and see.
Yeah. One thing that's always certain, though, and this is something that I think we can all hang our hats on, is if you need excellent sports merch inspired by your favorite Tampa Bay sports teams, you can go to shop.rblrsports.com and use promo code FLAPPY to get 10% off all of the great merch there. The Bucks are trying to figure things out in the NFL. The Lightning are getting rolling. The Rowdies show your support for the team, even though they had kind of a rough exit from the postseason. They give a great fight this season, and they're gonna have another great season coming up soon. And the Rays are raising. So if you want to support your Tampa Bay sports teams, go to shop.rblrsports.com. Use promo code FLAPPY, FLAPPY.
If I were to do some political posturing, I'd want to look my best, and I feel like wearing a RBLR piece of merchandise would really set the table for that.
It really would. And moving on from not baseball topics, although it sort of has to become a baseball topic in the stadium, let's talk about some Rays baseball now. Let's talk about the Rule 5 draft. So you may be wondering, why are we talking about the Rule 5 draft? Isn't that in December? Correct. However, rosters have to be set by the 19th, which is coming up very, very soon. So the question really that we're going to get into Rule 5 targets and who the Rays may look at. We'll get into that closer to the actual draft. But what we want to look at right now is looking at the Rays 40-man and the Rays minor league system, who are, number one, some guys that we could drop. We'll start there. And then we'll also look at who are some guys that we may want to add to the roster to protect them. So starting off, looking at the 40-man, are there any names? And I think it's safe to say that, there are some guys, we'll get to it. There are some guys that we will want to protect. Some top 30 type prospects that are Rule 5 eligible that we're going to want to protect. But I think it's safe to say that we're going to need 4, 5, maybe 6 spots open. So with that in mind, do you see 4, 5, 6 guys that could be removed from the roster off the 40-man?
Yes, I think I disagree with the principle that we're going to need that many spots. I don't think we're going to need to protect that many guys.
Okay.
to kind of, in case you're new to the Rule 5 draft, a very quick like summary of it is if you've been like in a team's minor league system for long enough and have not made a team's 40-man roster, you become eligible for the Rule 5 draft, which in December, if you're not on a 40-man roster, any team can take you for free, and you get to then live on a team's active roster for as long as a team wants you. So you get a free player, but the kind of risk reward system is you need to keep that player on the major league roster for the whole season. You can't demote them, otherwise they go back to their original team. If you keep them on the roster for the whole season, then you keep them forever. So it's a risk reward because these guys will have not made a major league debut yet, and they will have been career minor leaguers. So giving them a permanent major league job is risky, but if you're not on a 40-man, you're available to be picked. So teams will sometimes have prospects in the minor leagues that are really talented but have been like slow moving up the system, so haven't made it to the majors yet, and then you need to make room so they go on the 40-man before someone else steals them, basically. The Rays have had some issues with this in the past where they've had loads of guys that are Rule 5 eligible and not many 40-man spots, so they've had to trickily maneuver their way around. I don't think this is one of those years, personally.
Okay.
So currently the Rays roster's at 39. They've got 39 on their 40-man. So they've got one spot available anyway.
Mm-hmm.
They've got 2 top 30 prospects that are eligible for the Rule 5 draft, which are Joe Rock and Ian Seymour, who are left-handed pitchers. I think you'll want to try and protect both of those guys for sure. So we need to make one spot there. And then there's 2 other names that I think are interesting that we could discuss whether or not it's worth making room for them. One of them is Evan Reifert, the right-handed pitcher, and Jake Mangum, the outfielder.
The other one that I'll throw in here is Willie Vasquez is another guy. And again, like, you do have quite a few middle infielders out there. So it's not like, you'd be completely out of out of luck if you lose him. However, he is a guy that's been with the team for a while now. He's been in the organization for a while. He's currently rated as the number 27 prospect. I think he's worth at least considering. Like, hey, do we want to consider giving him a spot? He is a third baseman, second baseman, shortstop type. Just want to throw him out there as a name to consider. He's the other one I was thinking about. Like, hey, maybe do we need to give a spot to him? But continue.
Yeah, I mean, I think if he's left unprotected, I don't think he'll get taken. He hasn't played above AA.
Yeah.
He hasn't played above AA, and he's currently, last year in 97 games in AA, he hit to a 73 WRC plus with a 31% strikeout rate. So I don't think anyone would give him a major league spot.
No,
so I don't think
fair.
he needs protected.
That's fair.
Okay, so to answer your original question, which you asked about 5 minutes ago, let's say we need to protect definitely Seymour. We definitely need to protect Joe Rock, and we definitely need to protect maybe Jake Mangum. I think Jake Mangum's worth protecting.
Yeah.
So that's 3 spots that we need. One of them is already vacant because we've got 39 on the 40-man. In fact, I would protect Evan Reifert as well.
I was going to say I would protect Evan Reifert too. I feel like we're going to need to protect him.
Okay, so we need 3 spots.
Yeah.
Okay. I think the most obvious one is we ditch Levis Basabe.
I'm gonna say there's a really obvious one in my opinion. That's the one. That one's a little pain. Sorry, Basabe. I like you. You seem like a nice guy. You have fun wherever else you go. If somebody picks you, and then I don't know what his future will hold, but he's a pretty obvious cut for me.
He's screaming, going to the Marlins and being like solid over in the Marlins, like Xavier Edwards did. And then I'm probably fine to get rid of Richard Lovelady.
Okay.
I think We've got a lot of good bullpen arms. He didn't particularly inspire in his time. And then you're probably going to non-tender someone along the lines of Dylan Carlson, maybe. You could get rid of Carlson. You could get rid of Salsa. And you could maybe, this is an interesting call. You could get rid of Yoniel Cure.
That's so you've kind of mentioned all the ones that I was thinking about. They seem to like Wagaspack. They've brought him back
on a 2-year deal.
2-year deal. So they seem to like Wagaspack because that's the other one that you might think, oh, let's get rid of him. The Rays seem to think they've got something with Wagaspack, so I guess we'll leave him alone for now because it seems like they're good with him. So I think the ones that make the most sense are Basabe, Sulcer. And then that's where you get really the easy cuts. And because then I think it's Carlson, it's Meisner, it's Shenton, who I really like. I would like to keep Shenton, but he's another one that's up there. You could get really, really, you could get even a little bit more spicy and look at a guy like Colin Poche, who I like. I probably wouldn't cut him, but again, you talk about the depth of the Rays bullpen.
I think you can get something for Poche.
You probably could get something for Poche. You could get a lottery ticket somewhere, or some international cash to sign Roki Sasaki, which we should do a quick hitter on him at the end because I was misinformed about the way his situation was going to work when we talked about him last week. So we'll tag a little Roki Sasaki talk here at the end. But anyway, you could get some international money for him. There's a couple of guys like that. I think Meisner is the one that sticks out to me, especially if you're going to keep Mangum. I think you drop Meisner and keep Mangum if that's what you're going to do. So that I think if you were going to say what are your three, I would say Basabe, Sulcer, and Meisner would be my three.
Yeah. That makes sense to me. I think that makes sense to me. I would agree. It's definitely got to be Basabe and Salsa.
It's got to be Basabe, yeah.
And then, I'm also for me, Loveladies also in that mix. But
yeah. Now, one other guy that I think we should discuss as, someone that the Rays may want to protect that we haven't talked about yet is the Rays number 16 prospect. That's Ben Peoples. He's at AA. I think that's another one. I don't know, man. He had a nice year last year. He's been, he moved up from single A last year, had an okay year, pitched 55 innings, has some good stuff so far. He's another guy that I don't know if he would survive. I don't know that the Rays need to add him necessarily, but I don't know if he would survive because he's the kind of guy, the early enough in his development that you could still make adjustments to him type of guy. I just wonder if he could be in some danger if we leave him unprotected.
Yeah, pitchers always need protecting a little bit more because it's always far more likely a pitcher is going to get selected, mainly because it's easier to hide a pitcher on your roster than a position player. Relievers, especially, are prime picking for the Rule 5 draft because you can always hide a reliever and just never use them. Peoples has been a starter, but if someone sees him working out as a number 5 starter straight away or a reliever, then they could take him, and then you would have to clear an extra spot. So he's definitely another guy that you want to think about protecting as well. It's always a risky one because you got to kind of gamble. Do you think that someone's going to go, Ben Peoples is good enough to play in the majors right now? Someone might, but it's always hard to say when they've only been in AA. I think if they're below AA, it's pretty safe unless they're a reliever. But once they get to AA, it starts to become tricky. AAA guys definitely need protecting. In which case maybe you get rid of, you definitely get rid of Meisner in that instance, and maybe Shenton.
Yeah. Now, another guy I want to throw out there to you that has some nice counting numbers is Bob Seymour. He's a guy, when we talk about AAA guys, he's a guy, he hit to a 140 WRC plus last year. Do you think he's a guy the Rays need to protect, or that you would be sad if we lost?
I would be sad if we lost him, just because I think he's had a little bit of good stuff going for him lately. Is he Rule 5 eligible?
He is Rule 5 eligible this year.
Oh no, that's terrible. Okay, it would. I think he would get taken in a Rule 5 draft. I think he would if he got.
I think there's a good chance.
Like I could definitely see.
Now the only thing is, if he gets taken. Yeah, and when he gets taken, he's also going to take his 40% outside swing percentage with him wherever he goes, and his 46% O contact, which if you're unfamiliar with those terms, means he swings a lot of bad pitches and he doesn't make contact on them very much, which can work at AAA. Maybe not so much at the major league level. He's got some fun power to dream about if he could ever kind of work on his plate discipline a little bit more. At this point in his career, you wonder if he could make that kind of a change. I think there is a chance he gets taken because some team will say we can fix him, and maybe they can. But I don't think the Rays are going to protect him. No,
and also the Rays don't like – they just don't like bad defense, sluggy first baseman types. They don't like value them that highly. So I don't think – if you're going to try and protect all those pitches, I don't think they're going to try and clear an extra roster spot for Bob Seaver.
So we're saying goodbye to probably Basabe, Sulcer, Meisner, and maybe Shenton or Carlson, and we're saying hello to Joe Rock, to Ian Seymour, to Evan Reifert, to Jake Mangum. And then maybe somebody else. Maybe
Ben Peoples.
Oh my word, I just lost his name. Ben Peoples.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Joe Rock and Ian Seymour look like they're going to get some major league time this year as well.
I think when you look at guys, especially like you have in Shane McClanahan coming back from injury, Jeffrey Springs still making that return from injury, I expect they're going to need some help from AAA to provide some innings here and there, and those guys are both capable of providing those big innings. So I think we're going to see those guys get protected, and this is kind of, it's an interesting time of year because we're going to see a flurry of moves around Major League Baseball over the next 2 days, if they haven't already been made, of guys like that getting dropped, guys getting added to rosters. So it's kind of exciting to get to watch. It'll be a nice breather from all the other stuff that we've been getting. We're going to get some actual player baseball news here coming up very soon.
100%. Yeah, definitely. I guess, do you want to talk about Roki Sasaki before we go away?
Yes, I would like to talk about Roki Sasaki because I was uninformed the last time we talked about Roki Sasaki. So the way that it works is because of his age and because of when he's being posted, he is not eligible for the big contract that Yoshinobu Yamamoto got last year. He is looking at something closer to somewhere around the $7 million, the max he could get on a minor league deal to come play for somebody. And honestly, that only enhances the thought that we had last week about him being a target for the Rays. Because you're saying we could get a guy with a lot of potential to come here and say develop here and maybe see if we can get him to stick around on an extension after that. I think he is a guy that has a lot of potential to be a Rays target in this offseason.
Yeah. And this is going to get, depending on when he gets posted, it's going to get messy because basically pretty much all of the international bonus money for this year has been spent. The year 2024 has been spent. The Dodgers have the most left over, surprise, surprise. But again, the budget's reset in mid-January. But that means Sasaki will need to basically post himself right at the posting deadline to be eligible for that. Because I think the posting deadline's mid-December, and then mid-January is and it's only a month-long posting window, so there'll only be a week tops where teams have the reset of money where they can actually sign him. So this is going to get messy because if he posts himself in a window where everyone's money resets, it's theoretically all 30 teams are in play for Sasaki. and will make an attempt at him because it's an affordable, potential great free agent that everyone's in play for. But it's not that simple because there's so many like unsigned contracts that have kind of been promised to players in Cuba, in the Dominican, that they're basically like, yeah, we will sign you for this much once the bonus money ticks over. But nothing's in writing. So essentially, I remember Eric Logenhagen of Fangraphs is basically saying that teams will have no shame about backing out on deals that were promised in order to sign Roki Sasaki, which means there are going to be kids in Cuba, in the Dominican Republic, in those kind of areas that if they are promised to sign with this team that signed Sasaki are going to miss out and going to have to be without, which sucks and is not nice practice. And honestly, the whole system in the Dominican and in Cuba and most international free agent signings is a really exploitative system of young people that don't have a lot of money and is not good and probably needs stricter legislation against it. But as it stands, assuming no money has been spent yet, even though they've technically promised money to a lot of players, the Rays would be in the top level of international bonus budget in 2025 because they're part of the competitive balance round B, which are allocated the most amount of international bonus money on a given year, which is about $7.5 million. They're joined by the Reds, Tigers, Brewers, Mariners, A's, and Twins.
Yeah, so they are in a good place to potentially sign him, and I think their organization is also set up really well to help a guy like him. And we can say to them, "Hey, we've already done this. We had kind of a trial run last year with Uwasawa. Didn't exactly go the way we wanted to, but we have a trial run of showing that we can do this. We're ready for you. We believe we can develop you into an even greater pitcher than you already are." And give him that pitch. I think it's a better than not chance that they're going to make a run at him for sure. And I think there's a really good shot that they sign him. It would be really, really fun because if you've ever watched him pitch, if you watched him pitch in the World Baseball Classic, the dude is electric. He would be really fun in a Rays uniform.
Yeah, big stuff guy. He reminds me a little bit of Tim Lincecum, the way that he's got like really electric high velo stuff, but like really skinny, kind of gangly build. Does have a bit of an injury history already, but that doesn't deter the Rays. No. That's for sure. So it seems like a very Raysy target. I think they'd love to have him. And like you said, they've got the kind of reputation in their player and pitcher development organizational standpoint that will set them in good stead. And Roki Sasaki has said on record that he wants to go to the place that will make him the best pitcher. And the Rays can make a really, really good pitch for that. I don't think they're the favorite. I believe the Dodgers are still slated as the favorite just because they have the most money right now. So if Sasaki posts himself before the budget ticks over, then they'll be definitely the favorites because the Rays, I don't believe, have any real money left this window. And I don't think salary is going to be the biggest factor in signing Sasaki. But you can't sign someone with like no money. You've got to have a few million there.
Because I think the pitch for him and the plan for him is coming over now on just that kind of initial deal, and then making himself into the guy that's then going to get the Yoshinobu Yamamoto contract in the future. That's kind of that's his path. So if he comes over and has a really nice year, that's when he gets paid. So you are right to say that the money isn't really a big deal now. It's going to be a big deal next year and the years following when he's looking to get that big money. So the pitch from the Rays is, hey, we're going to help you get that money, whether it's from us or somebody else. We're going to turn you into the guy that's going to get that money. So I think they're going to make a really good pitch to him.
Yeah, and I guess watch this space. Well, it really all depends on when he's going to get posted.
Yes.
That's all it depends on. So if it's before mid-December, it's kind of an issue. But if it is after mid-December, then it'll be all good.
Yeah, so that's something to keep an eye on. So keep your eyes peeled to the transaction wire here coming over the next couple of days as we see the 40-man stuff happening. Keep an eye on what's going on with Roki Sasaki. There are some, as much as it's being clouded over right now, Lots of exciting stuff happening. We're also going to have some exciting stuff here on this show. Next week, just as a little preview, we're going to talk Brandon Lau, Yandy Diaz player reviews, and also project into the future a little bit for them. We're going to have a lot to say about that next week, so stay tuned for that. If you want to know exactly when that show is going live and you can watch along, do us a huge favor and drop a follow. If you've enjoyed the show, thank you. If you want to know whenever we're going live, drop that follow, give us a like. If you have thoughts on the stadium, if you have thoughts on Roki Sasaki, on the Rule 5 draft, let us know in the comments. Let us know if you're here live. Let us know what you think. And then afterwards, let us know in the comments. Comment on social media. Let us know what you think. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to go back and forth with you and talk a little Rays baseball, because there is still lots of fun Rays baseball to be talking.
Absolutely. The team is definitely going to be here in 2025. So we've got plenty to look forward to, and it's going to be a big season for the Rays, I think. World Series back on? I think so.
I think it's a good chance, and we're going to talk all about it all off season long. Player reviews coming, and then previews after that. It's going to be an exciting off season here, and we hope you'll stick with us all the way through. For now, Rays up.
Rays up.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.